With Barcelona and Bahrain testing complete, I think we finally have somewhat of a pecking order going into the 2022 Formula 1 season. So today guys, I'm going to be revealing my official post-testing 2022 predictions going into the Bahrain and 2022 season and Grand Prix. Hey everybody, what's going on? Chris here, otherwise known as CFRacing, and today everybody, I am going to be doing my post-testing 2022 Formula 1 season predictions. I'm seeing a lot of content creators do this right now, which is awesome because I like predictions and I like watching predictions and I like making predictions. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be doing my post-testing predictions going into Bahrain, but also the entire 2022 season because doing a prediction every week isn't that special. You know, it's only good to do these maybe once or twice a season to say the least. But first guys, if you guys are new here and you enjoy the content like this from me, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, share with the friends or whatever all the YouTubers say. Did I say like? I don't even remember if I did. But also join my Discord, link is in the description. With that being said guys, I got nothing else for you. Let's get right into my driver standings. So there has to be somebody who comes in last, and now that Nikita Mazepin isn't racing this year, I can't put him. So this already changes up my predictions completely from last time I did my predictions video. So for me, in P20 in 2021, I have Guang Yu Zhou. I just don't think he's going to have a good season, and that Alfa Romeo doesn't really look like the best car on the grid, to say the least. I think Bottas will get a little more out of that car, but I think being a rookie, Guang Yu Zhou just won't really gel with that car right away, and I feel like he'll probably score, I think he'll score points, maybe like a single digits or something, but I don't think he'll perform as good as Bottas will or as any other drivers on this list will, so I have him in dead last. In P19, this may be a little bit controversial, I have Nicholas Latifi, and I mean, I like the guy. I mean, we're both Canadian, so that's pretty cool. I got Canadian bias right there. But the Williams does not look like the best car out of testing. I mean, it looked decent in like Spain and stuff, but then in Bahrain, it was not reliable. I mean, granted, there was like a human error that blew up one of their brakes, I believe it was. But Latifi, I mean, he's not the best driver in the whole world. He's not the quickest, not the fastest. In qualifying, I don't really know how he'll do in the race. His race pace is a little better, but I just don't think that Williams car will be super good. So I have Nicholas Latifi in P19. Following up in P18, this may be a little bit controversial as well, and I have Alexander Albon, and once again, this is just due to the fact that I think the Williams is going to be a very bad car. The only reason I have Albon and Latifi ahead of Guang Yu Zhou is because I think they are quicker drivers at the moment than Guang Yu Zhou. I don't think Guang Yu Zhou will do that bad. I don't think Guang Yu Zhou will do that good. So Alexander Albon for me is in P18 due to the fact that I think the Williams is going to be kind of a boat. Not Gunther Steiner's boat, but kind of a boat. I just don't think that car will perform that well. But I could be very wrong. I've seen people have Albon up into like P11. Tomo, I'm looking at you. But I've seen people have Williams up pretty high. But right now, I have Alexander Albon in P18. In P17, this was a very pleasant surprise after testing, and I have Mick Schumacher. The Haas actually looked like quite a decent car in testing. Like we saw, I think it was Mick put the second fastest time overall in testing, and in day 2, Kevin Magnussen set the fastest lap overall. That is very impressive, and I am extremely excited to see if Haas can actually make that jump into the midfield this season. That would be fantastic, and I would absolutely love that. But there is a huge but here. So in testing, we know that Haas had that extra hour or two or something like that after the other testing days without cameras or media or whatever taking pictures of their car. So what I think they did, I think they put a bunch of no fuel in that car. They ramped up that engine mode and just did for like a glory run. And I think they did that glory run to see if that car could actually do something in qualifying, because last year we saw that car did not make it out of Q1 or 3, I forget which one it is, very often. It were not good. Like, Mick only made it out twice. Mazepin came last almost every single time. So if they could actually have a decent car in qualifying, that would be pretty epic, not gonna lie. And I think Magnussen and Schumacher will do pretty good in qualifying. Like, Mick is pretty quick on one lap pace. He's not the fastest driver I've ever seen in my whole life, but I still think he'll do good. So that's why I have him in P17. In P16, I have Valtteri Bottas, and I think he's probably going to score a majority of the points for Alfa Romeo this season. I mean, I have Guanyu Zhou in last, so that just makes the most sense. And P16 is Bottas, and I think he's going to do a very good job. I feel like his qualifying will be sort of what carries him, because we know he's like a really good qualifier. We out-qualified Lewis a couple times, and I don't know, I just think the Alfa Romeo would be a decent car. Not a good car, but maybe like a decent car, and I think he could pick up some points in some crazy races. Maybe he'll score points. I don't know if he'll do it on merit, but I think maybe he'll do good, and maybe the qualifying will carry him. In P15, this once again may be a little controversial. I have Kevin Magnussen, and I know he hasn't been in Formula 1 since 2020, but he's such a quick driver, and in 2021 when he was out of the sport, he was doing like a bunch of touring and Le Mans cars. That's a bunch of endurance racing, which gets you sort of in the same like physical conditioning as Formula 1, and we saw in testing, he was like right on it all, like right away. He was quick, but I think that's just how Kevin Magnussen is as a driver, and I think he's going to do very good this season. And once again, the Haas master plan, the Haaster plan, whatever you want to call it, is in full effect right now, and I really think that they can make a step up into this midfield. And I'm not all aboard the Gunther Steiner boat train, hype train, whatever you call it right now, but still, I think Haas is going to have a good season, and I think a partnership of Magnussen and Mick will do a very good job. So that's why I have Kevin Magnussen in 15. Next, in a P14, I have the other Canadian on the grid, and that is Lance Stroll. I really don't know how the Aston Martin's going to do. Are they going to do good? Are they going to do bad? We really don't know. But right now, I have Lance Stroll in P14. I think the car will do somewhat well. Maybe he'll grab a points finishes like fairly often. Maybe like low ends of the points, probably like 8th, 9th, or 10th. But I think Lance Stroll will do decent, so that's why I have him in P14. In P13, I have Esteban Ocon, and I think Ocon's going to do fairly well this season. I think he will be outmatched by Fernando Alonso, but then again, I could be very wrong. He was very close with Fernando last year, but then again, also was Fernando's first season back in the team, and Ocon won a race, which gave him 25 points. But still, yeah, he's a good driver. I think he could probably lead the Alpine team into the future, and then maybe next year we partner with Oscar Piastri, which would be pretty cool, not gonna lie. But yeah, right now I have Ocon in P13. In P12, I have a very nice bounce back season for a Yuki Tsunoda. I don't think he'll be on the level of Pierre Gasly, but that is very hard to come by, because Pierre Gasly's probably one of, if not the most talented drivers on the grid, I gotta say. He's very good. Literally won a race in an AlphaTauri in 2020. Like, God, this guy's fantastic. I mean, finishing P12 for Yuki would be very good. You'll see my constructor standings later on in this video, but I think Yuki Tsunoda will have a pretty good season. He is one of my shouts for like a surprise podium, so if he can get that, that'll be epic, and yeah, I have him in P12. And rounding off 11 to 20, in P11, I have Sebastian Vettel. I know a lot of people are really hyping up Seb right now, and also a lot of people are really not hyping up Aston Martin. But I think they're going to have a somewhat of a decent season. I know in Bahrain testing, their car was not very good. It was locking up everywhere. It was understeering and oversteering. It's like the 2014 Ferrari. I don't know if you guys knew, but that car understeered and oversteered at the same time. Sebastian Vettel is looking like he is on pace and sort of at, I wouldn't say at one with the car right now, but looking at testing, he's been much quicker than Stroll, and I just think he'll do a good job. And honestly, he is my surprise race winner of the season. So yeah, that's why I have Sebastian Vettel in P11. In P10, this may come to a surprise for some people, or not, I really don't know. I have Fernando Alonso, and I mean, I think this will probably be Fernando Alonso's last year in Formula 1. I know he wants to win a title with Alpine, but I just don't think Alpine's going to deliver the car. But still, a P10 finish is still pretty good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a race this season. So yeah, I have Alonso in P10. In P9, this is a very bold, I would say, to say the least, and it is going to be Daniel Ricciardo. And hear me out before you guys dislike and start spamming, oh my god, McLaren hate or whatever. I don't know whatever you guys are going to spam, or I don't like Australians, who knows. But I like Daniel Ricciardo, and I want him to have a very good season this year. And before the Bahrain testing, I had him and Lando like right side by side with each other in terms of the standings. But he missed all of Bahrain testing, and I feel like that's going to hamper him in the beginning half of the season. We saw him last year. He was not able to really cope with the new car that he switched to, which, you know, went from Renault or Alpine to McLaren, and now he is now he's in a brand new car. Like, everybody is in a brand new car. I mean, I don't think Ricciardo's the most adaptable driver. It takes him a little bit of time. Now that he missed pretty much 3 full days of testing. I just don't think he'll gel with that car in the beginning part of the season compared to others. So that's why I have him in P9. But I want to be wrong about this. I'm going to be honest. I want to be wrong, but I just got a gut feeling it's going to be another sort of poor season for Daniel Ricciardo. But then again, I also don't think McLaren's going to be the fastest car. So maybe this is not that bad. In P8, I have Pierre Gasly, and I am very excited to say this because in my other preseason testing predictions or whatever, I had AlphaTauri in P7 overall, and Gasly, I believe, was outside the top 10. I don't really remember. But now I have Gasly in P8, and after seeing testing, you can see that AlphaTauri looks like a really strong car, and I am so excited because I want AlphaTauri to be like in the midfield fight like last year when they fought for P5 with Alpine. Like, I want them to do that again. Maybe they'll even fight McLaren for P4 or P3, who knows. But yeah, I have Gasly in P8, and I think he's going to have such a good season. And this is also the last season he is in the contract for AlphaTauri, so I think he's going to perform like crazy trying to get a new contract for next year. In P7, this may be a little controversial as well, and this is going to be Sergio Perez in P7. And I think the Red Bull's going to have such a good car, but I just don't think Sergio Perez is quicker than any of the drivers that I have ahead of him. And I feel like that car is still going to be built towards Max Verstappen, and I feel like Perez is just going to struggle a little bit, which sucks because I want Perez to do good. And maybe the Red Bull car won't be good, and maybe him and Verstappen will be close. Maybe the car will be the best on the grid, and then they'll be 1-2. I really don't know, but for now I have Perez in P7. I feel like it is a little bit lower, but I really just can't justify putting Perez ahead of literally everybody else who I have ahead of him. Speaking of people who I have ahead of him, in P6, I have George Russell. And I know a lot of people are really saying that George Russell is going to be quicker than Lewis Hamilton this year. And in qualifying, I agree. I think he might actually out-qualify Lewis throughout the entire season. But in terms of race pace, it's very hard to match Lewis Hamilton. The guy he isn't a 7-time world champion for no reason. Like, granted, he did have the best car for majority of the seasons, but still, he is so good in terms of race pace. And I just think George Russell maybe need a season or two to actually like catch up. You know what I mean? So that's why I have George Russell in P6. But I still think he will do a very good job, and don't be surprised if he does win a couple races this year. In P5, you can easily swap P5 and 6 around, but I have Lando Norris, and I think this is going to be Lando Norris's best season to date. And I mean, 2021 was a great season for Lando, but I think this season is going to be absolutely fantastic for Lando. I think he's going to take the team and just take it to new heights, which is something we all want to see. Cars with Connor, this is all for you, man. I know you like Lando Norris, so hey, there you go, buddy. But yeah, I got Lando Norris in P5. I mean, I think he's going to have a good season. I just think the McLaren car won't be as good as the other cars ahead. So that's why I have Lando Norris in P5. In P4, I have Carlos Sainz, and I mean, I love this. I just can't see Carlos Sainz finishing any higher than P4. I really don't know why, because he did beat Charles last season, but then again, Charles was super unlucky. Carlos was very lucky. I don't really want to get into it because I'm a Charles fan, and you guys know how I am with Charles. So I got Carlos in P4. I think he'll win a race this season. Same with Lando, same with George. I think a lot of people in the top 10 will probably win a race this season, which is awesome. And I just can't see him throughout an entire season with like a title battle just get on the levels of like the 3 drivers who I had ahead of them, who are like Charles, Max, and Lewis, basically. And I think the qualifying will probably be the biggest part of that. We all know that Max, Charles, and Lewis are probably like the 3 best qualifiers on the grid, and I think that Carlos is a little step behind those 3 right now. So that's why I have him in P4. In P3, I have Lewis Hamilton. And everybody probably thinking like, oh, but the Mercedes says they're not going to win a race this year. Well, I got to say, shut up. Mercedes is 100% sandbagging right now. There's no way that they're not going to be in contention for a race win. Like, it's Mercedes, guys. Come on. Like, I don't believe a single word that comes out of Toto Wolff's mouth. I don't believe a single word that comes out of Lewis Hamilton's mouth. Now, I'm never going to believe a single word that comes out of George Russell's mouth. Everything Mercedes says is basically just a lie. We all know they're going to come into testing, probably lead practice sessions, and then they're probably going to be like challenging for the race win, even the title of the first race. You know how it is. It's just Mercedes. But I do think that Red Bull and Ferrari will have a better car to start the season than Mercedes. So that's why I have Lewis Hamilton in third. But then again, if Mercedes just come out with like an absolute god of a car, then Hamilton's going to win the title this year, let's be honest. Now, in P2, I have Max Verstappen, the defending world champion, driver number 1, Max Verstappen. I have finishing in P2. I mean, you could put him in P1. The Red Bull looks like a really good car this year, to be honest. But I got Charles in number 1. I'll tell you guys that a little bit later. So, Max Verstappen is in P2. I think he's going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I love it. I love having Max Verstappen ahead of Lewis. I mean, I like having anybody ahead of Lewis, to be honest. Like, if I could just make my own like standings, I'd put Lewis Hamilton in P20. I'm gonna be honest, but yeah, I have Max Verstappen in P2. I mean, he's gonna do a phenomenal job this year. I mean, I put Paris in P7, which might be a little disrespectful, but I got Max Verstappen in P2. He's gonna do a great job. He's quick. He's probably the fastest driver on the grid right now, but I think Red Bull's gonna have the second fastest car, so that's why I have Verstappen in P2. And now, number 1, I have Charles Leclerc. This actually hasn't changed since my preseason predictions. That Ferrari just looks like an absolute monster of a car. And in testing, I've seen so many reports saying that Ferrari was using high fuel and low engine modes, which, I mean, bodes well for Ferrari because they were putting some crazy lap times in. And if they can put those lap times in with high fuel and low engine modes, what the heck can they do with low engine or with high engine modes and low fuel? Like, that car is going to be rapid in Bahrain, and I am super excited for that. I really feel like the only team that can challenge Ferrari right now is Red Bull, and mainly just Max Verstappen. I mean, don't also count out Lewis. But right now, I think throughout an entire season, just as it is right now, and don't forget, this is my opinion, I have Charles Leclerc winning the World Drivers' Championship. Now it is time for my constructor standing predictions, and I'm sure you guys could probably figure out who's going to be where based on my driver standing predictions, so I will go through this a little quick. So in P10, I have Williams, and I just don't think they're going to have a quick car. I do have some trust in Albon, and a little bit of trust in Latifi, but not that much, so I have Williams in P10. I just think the car is going to be the limiting factor for them. In P9, I have Alfa Romeo, and basically just because I think they're going to get absolutely carried by Valtteri Bottas. I don't think Zhou's going to do a good job in that Alfa Romeo, and I just think they'll get carried by Bottas. That's all I'm going to say. And the reason that they're getting carried by Bottas is the reason why I have Haas in P8. And that's because I think Magnussen and Mick Schumacher are actually going to do a very good job next season. And I think they're going to score a whole bunch of points, which is awesome because I want to see them perform well. And I want to see Haas in the midfield. And I want to see Ferrari engine teams do good because I'm a Ferrari fan. But yeah, I have Haas in P8. Hopefully I'm right. Probably going to be wrong. Maybe they'll be last. Who knows? But yeah, I have Haas in P8. In P7, I hate to say this, but I have Aston Martin, and they just look so bad in testing, and throughout in a season, I just can't see them developing a car that could really, like, challenge up the grid, sort of like what we saw Alpine do last year, and I just don't think Aston Martin can do that. And also, don't forget, like, Mike Crack, love that guy, by the way, he joined Aston Martin, like, right when Otmar Szafnauer left, and now he has a completely new car to deal with. Like, Otmar was the one who developed that car, and I guess Alpine's in the same, like, wavelength as well, but I think their cars probably be a little better. But Aston Martin, I just don't see them really getting on top of the car. Maybe in a couple years. I know it is like a 5-year plan, so who knows in 5 years what'll happen, but right now I just think they're going to be in P7. In P6, I have Alpine, and I think Alpine's going to do fairly good this year. Like, Alonso and Ocon, a brilliant driver pairing. I love the chemistry that those two have. I just don't think the car will be that good for them. I think they'll be better than Aston Martin, Haas, Alfa, and Williams. I just don't think they'll be better than the other teams that I have ahead of them. In P5, this is probably the biggest jump that I have besides like Haas from my last predictions, and this is AlphaTauri. Like I said in my driver standings predictions, they look very good, and I am super excited to see what they can do, and I think Pierre Gasly is going to do a phenomenal job with their car. Like, I think he's going to do amazing. And I mean, Yuki Tsunoda, I feel like he'll do good as well. We saw that he really stepped up at the end of the season. He made a crazy overtake on Bottas in Abu Dhabi. Like, oof, that was money. I love that. Yeah, but that's the reason I have AlphaTauri in P5. They could drop down to like P6, P7, but as we're seeing right now, I think they have a better car than Aston and the Alpine. And plus, I think they're more reliable, which is something you really like to see. In P4, I have McLaren. And honestly, I'm not really sold on putting McLaren in P4. If McLaren can figure out their brake issues and if Ricciardo can come back very strong, you can put McLaren in P3, P2, P1. If McLaren can't fix their brake issues and they're struggling in the first couple races of the season, and Ricciardo is not good in the first couple races of the season, you can throw McLaren down like P5, P6, P7, P8. Like, it really depends on how the car is going to perform and how Ricciardo performs. I'm sure Lando will do well, hopefully. God, I don't want to jinx the guy, but yeah, I'm really not sold on putting McLaren here. I just can't justify putting them ahead of like Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari right now, and I can't really justify putting McLaren behind the teams like AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston Martin, because we saw in Spain that McLaren looked so good when their brakes weren't overheating, but then in Bahrain the car looked like Gunther's boat. Like, it was terrible. So I have McLaren in P4, but I'm not really too sold about this. Let me know in the comment section, guys, where you'd put McLaren, because I really don't know. In P3, I have Mercedes, and I mean, like I said in my driver standings predictions, I still think they're going to be good. They're still going to challenge for race wins, still probably going to challenge for both titles, at least in some stage of the season. Maybe not in the beginning of the season. We saw Lewis and George say that the car wouldn't be challenging for wins, but once again, sandbags, you know, they're like the Sandman. It's crazy down there in Mercedes. Like, they should set up like a factory in like the desert or something. Like, honestly, they keep their sand or whatever. Yeah, but I have Mercedes in P3. I think they're gonna have a good car. I mean, even with all the struggles that they had in Bahrain with like their porpoising and all that stuff. I hate that word, by the way. Everybody said it so many times. I just can't stand the word porpoising anymore. Yeah, but I have Mercedes in P3. They're gonna do a good job, even with all their things. Like, I still have them in P3. In P2, I have Red Bull, and this is solely due to the fact that Red Bull bases their car off of one driver, and that is Max Verstappen. Like you guys saw in my driver settings, I believe I have Perez in P7, and I have Max Verstappen in P2. I think Verstappen and Leclerc are going to be like far ahead of P3 in the driver standings. That's why I have Red Bull in P2, and yeah, I think they're going to have a very good car, and I think it's going to be a title battle between Charles and Max all season, which is going to be great, so that's why I have Red Bull in P2. And for me, number one, as a completely biased Ferrari fan, I have Ferrari winning their first Constructors' Championship, actually, since 2008. And everything is pointing in the right direction for Ferrari. Spain testing, phenomenal. Bahrain testing, phenomenal. All the reports are looking phenomenal. Both drivers looking phenomenal. It's fantastic. And I just have nothing bad to say right now about Ferrari. Like, everything, like I said before, is pointing in the right direction, and I could not be more proud to be a Ferrari fan right now. Who cares about 2020? Who cares about 2021? I mean, that was still a good year. 2019, very good year, honestly. 2018, very good year. 2017, very good year. And other years, not so good, but still, it's not that bad, and I feel like Ferrari's just going to have a very good car, and they're probably going to win the Constructors' Championship. And don't forget about their driver pairing, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc. I have nothing else to say about them. They're fantastic. So guys, that is going to wrap up my predictions. If you guys do agree with me or disagree with me, let me know in the comment section down below. Once again, remember that this is my opinion, so if you don't like it, then too bad. What can you do about it? All you got to do is cry in the comment section down below. That being said, everybody, see you guys next time. Goodbye.